So I've got Mike Wakely, who is Wacker Junior from the forum, here to discuss a couple of Mario games with me. Hello, Mike.
Good evening, Greg. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. It's really nice to be invited along.
Yeah, well, I know you listened to the podcast a few times. I know you've guessed the transition tunes at least once.
whenever Jonas hasn't got it first.
Oh, you need to get him out of this streak. It's
exceptional knowledge.
Yeah. But anyway, what games are you wanting to talk about from the Mario franchise?
I'm particular fans of Mario Golf back on the Game Boy Color and also the legendary Super Mario Brothers 3.
Ah, legendary. Which version would that be? Would that be the NES version or the superior Super Mario All-Stars version?
It's superior, but I've always played the original NES version.
Yeah,
so
well,
that's the one
I guess we'll start with that one. And why are you wanting to discuss Super Mario Brothers 3?
It's just a fantastic 2D platformer. It was one of the first platform games I really enjoyed. And it was just Nintendo at their development high. It was it was just a absolutely fantastic game. The first Super Mario Brothers was so popular, and I remember playing it and just really enjoying it. And then there were all these adverts on the TV. All these all these people coming together and chanting almost cult-like Mario. And it got my friend at the time had a Nintendo, and invited him around to play it after school, and we were just instantly hooked. It was absolutely brilliant. The only downside to it us both being so young and both in primary school is that we could only play it up until dinner time. So we had a very small time slot to play it. So we played a few levels, got as far as we could, and had to stop and gradually came back each day, got further and further, effectively speedrunning the game, just without the ability that most speedrunners have, until we discovered the warp whistles in the game, which just absolutely transformed it for us and meant that we could finally crack it.
I'm not sure I've ever used a warp whistle, actually. I will say, obviously, Super Mario Brothers 2, the one that we got over here, isn't really like a proper Mario game. So, seeing that transition from the original Super Mario Brothers to Mario Brothers 3, it's such a leap, and all in the same console. So, I can imagine, sort of growing up in that time was it would have been amazing. I didn't actually play Super Mario Bros. Until playing the All-Stars version on Super Nintendo, which is why that's the one that I would have a wee bit more affection for. But I actually played Super Mario World first, and that was actually my first ever Mario game. So for me, that was that's the big one for me. That's got all the magic. Whereas Super Mario 3 is good, but I think part of its magic is just lost on me a wee bit because obviously it wasn't my first, and I feel like I played a superior game before it.
I think it pains me to say it, but for me you're probably right. I think it's like Mario 3. It was an evolution of the first Mario Brothers. I think Super Mario World was an evolution again and built on the mechanics from that. For me, you're right. Having played the first Super Mario Brothers, you could see the evolution that Mario 3 was. That it was instantly familiar if you played the original, but suddenly it didn't feel quite the same. It's suddenly that the controls were tighter, and while the gameplay felt similar, there were mechanics that they introduced which just it changed all the gameplay and the tactics. Suddenly, Koopa shells could be picked up and thrown around, and the piranha plants which appeared suddenly spat fire at you. Along with the new power-ups, and you could see the evolution from such a popular game before, and they just improved it, enhanced it in almost every single way. And it was, I think, for you, it was probably, I think coming into Super Mario World, if you had played Mario 3, you probably would have seen the evolution there as well. I guess looking back, you can probably see that.
Yeah, 100%. It's actually a game that I'm I really need to go back and play because I haven't played it for years, and if anything, I think I might even appreciate it more now than maybe I did when I originally played it. I suppose time will tell on that. Is there any particular like levels or power ups or anything that you like?
I mean, it was weird because the levels were so short. So I think they improved them later on. The levels themselves weren't always weren't the most memorable for me, but they're always elements that they use so sparingly that those are the ones which I remember so well. So like the Karibo shoe, which I remember that I think only appeared for one level, and that was fantastic. There was the sun in the desert levels, which appeared and just it gave me nightmares. Yeah, absolutely. And then in the water world, the giant fish, which ate me many a time then. And I went back and played it just before, just the last few days, just to remind myself about the game, and it still got me over and over again. And it's I think it was those elements, because they're used so sparingly. Those are things I particularly remember about the game and have nightmares about.
Would you say it's your favorite Mario game?
It's a 2D Mario, probably my favorite. Like I said, I think other games like Mario World have done it better, but I think for me, because it was the best platform I played when I was so young. It's always lived for me like that. So it's probably my favorite.
Yeah, it's like the period of your life when you play these games is like obviously like a huge factor, because like I sort of imagine what younger ones would be like now playing like New Super Mario Brothers for the first time, like, and if they think that's as special for them as those other games were for us. But often a slightly different sort of genre, Mario Golf on the Game Boy Color. That's not a game I've ever played. So, what can you tell me about
that? It was. I think for me, it was just a massive surprise. I hadn't really played golf games before. I remember there was an old game on PC which I played at World Class Leaderboard, I think I remember it being called. But I just remember playing it. It was complicated. I was terrible at it. I remember you hit a tree and the commentator used to mock you. It's like looks like he hit the tree, Jim. And I was just terrible, and I didn't really fancy playing a golf game after that. And 64 version, I was playing, had some friends, and they wanted me to try it. And it was really enjoyable. And I had a Game Boy Color at the time. I saw it was out. I was usually at that time kind of get the Game Boy games. They're inferior. They're dumbed down versions of the console ones. And this one wasn't. This one it played really similar to it. The mechanics were the same. If anything, it was probably a bigger game than the console version. It had a role playing element to it, which was surprisingly deep for that kind of game. It was simple. The controls were simple to do, but actually, as you played more of it, it had a surprising amount of depth to it. As a portable game, it was great because you could save at any time. You could play for a few minutes at a time. You didn't have to invest a lot of time in one playthrough. And yeah, like I said, the role-playing elements were the major selling point, I think. You started off as just a generic boy or girl. I can't remember the names, but the fact they haven't appeared as Smash Brothers characters probably means that Nintendo aren't too worried about them anymore. And yeah, you took part in tournaments or played practice rounds, and you gained experience points, it was a very clever mechanic. It could be put towards either hitting the ball further. And if you did that, you had the risk of increase the risk of you miss hitting the ball, or it gave you less margin for error. Or you could put the points into more control, at which point you then you sacrifice hitting it as far. And around the game, which kind of separated it, there were all these challenges, which effectively they were tutorials, or you got to teach you the nuances and all the advanced techniques, such as swerving balls around trees, difficult putts. You were hitting birds off flagpoles. It's eventually you increased your rank throughout it, and that's when you got to play. Basically, the whole game was about you trying to get better so you can face Mario. It was strange. It had Mario in the title, but while it hinted at them, it didn't really reveal itself until the later game. And I think the fact that it relied on just the gameplay and these characters without relying on just the Mario characters to put it through, showed what a good game it was. It was just it was just enjoyable. Eventually, the last levels had you play on courses that were shaped like Mario characters, and it was just very, very well designed. And while the role playing, I think it was by Camelot, it wasn't as deep as your Final Fantasies or your Golden Suns. For effectively just a handheld sports golf game, really, really worked for it. And I think I was so surprised by it. I've always remembered it for being such a good game that I just wasn't expecting.
Yeah, it does sound really in depth, particularly when you think of the platform that it came out on. And I know people have been craving sort of those RPG mechanics to come back in like the Mario sports titles. I'm probably not one of them because I'm not really that bothered. I wouldn't be so bothered about that aspect. Mario Golf on the N64 would have been my first. Well, it would have been the first golf game I owned, I think, and I absolutely loved it as well. So it would have been interesting to see what I would have thought of the Game Boy Color version of Mario Golf when it came out. Did it have any of the transfer pack stuff that the Mario Tennis had?
Yeah, I think it did. I never got to use it myself, but it did have, I think, the character similar to Mario Tennis, the characters that you built up, that you leveled up, you increased, they could be transferred and played through in the N64 version, which I think it was almost ahead of its time when it did it, and it's a shame that I guess more games didn't rely on that, and you could do that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's on the 3DS Virtual Console, and I definitely looked at it a few times and thought about picking it up, but I never got around to it. So, like with Mario 3 being one of your favorite 2D platformers, would Mario Golf and the Game Boy Color be one of your favorite golf games?
As far as golf games go, yeah, I think it's. I think that's fair to say. I'm not into all the intricacies, but yeah, for a game you can just pick up and play and enjoy. Yeah, it's certainly there, and like you say, they haven't followed through with the kind of role play mechanics on the newer games, which I think is a shame. I think it adds a lot more depth and saves potential repetition of just doing hole after hole after hole. I think it adds a lot more to the game. It'd be nice if a bit more time could be spent maybe developing and adding this to the newer games.
Yeah. Did you play Golf Story?
I have actually played Golf Story. I picked it up after I think it was on the forums. We read about it and its similarities to Mario Golf, and that's when it perked my interest. And yeah, it was a good game, and the writing was very funny. That's definitely worth picking up.
It was. Well, unless you've got anything else to share on those games or any other Mario games you want to call out, I think we'll leave it there.
No, that sounds good to me. I think there's a lot of fantastic games in the series. I'm sure other people are going to share their memories and such as yourself that talk about their experiences with it.
They will, yeah. So thanks for joining us, Mike. And hope you'll be listening to the 50th podcast.
I certainly will. Look forward to it, and the fantastic work that you guys do with the podcast every week. It's a fantastic listen. I think you do a fantastic job.
Fantastic. Thanks very much. All right. All the best.
All the best. You too.
Bye.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and give us a like if you've enjoyed our content. You can also check out our other great content on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and the N-E Café podcast from all good podcast providers. Just follow the links in the description below.